Hello and a warm welcome to Google's Town Hall. Please may I ask for your attention for a few minutes whilst I take you through a few safety procedures. If the fire alarms sound continually, please evacuate the building immediately without stopping to collect belongings. Exit through the nearest designated fire exit. Do not use lifts. Fire exits are located at either end of the lift corridor. On exiting the building, please head to the fire assembly point at St Giles Church. If you have an accident on site, please report to main reception, where we'll contact a first aider for you. Toilets are located at either end of the lift corridor. This building is completely non-smoking in its entirety. There's a smoking area outside main reception on the ground floor. Now, if I can kindly ask you to switch your phones to silent, sit back and enjoy your day at Google Town Hall.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Google Town Hall. So my name's Matt Mansell. I'm the Group Managing Director at Host Europe Group, who own 123 Reg as one of our brands, and hopefully everybody in this room is a 123 Reg customer. Congratulations for passing the first test of actually making it up the stairs, through the tight security and into the room. I believe a few more are still working on that, and our team are downstairs helping them make their way up. So I just want to walk you through very briefly what's going to be going on today. So I can click through this okay. First of all, I'm going to spend sort of half an hour talking you through what's going on in the domain industry right now. There's a lot of change. I'm sure you're hearing about it on just about every channel in which we communicate with you, and in the mainstream media, I'm sure, with domains like .london, .guru being a very recent one that's launched. I'm going to spend some time discussing that with you. Following that, we're very lucky today to be joined by Stefan. Pop your hand in the air, Stefan. Stefan's the author of Business Networking for Dummies, and he's going to talk you through a short presentation about networking in your business, which we hope you'll all enjoy. Then we're going to be handing the floor over to Nick Leach. Hand in the air, Nick. Nick's our Group Marketing Director. He looks after the marketing teams that operate on every single brand we have as the Host Europe Group, both in the UK and in Germany and in Spain and Switzerland and all the different countries in which we operate. Nick's going to be talking to you about digital marketing on a shoestring. Very interesting speaker and a very enjoyable presentation, I'm sure. Following that, we're lucky also to be joined by Barney Grossman at the back there. Barney's a conversion executive with us. You know, our websites receive an enormous amount of traffic, and it's vital that when you come to our websites that you have a free flow to be able to do what you need to do. And Barney spends his life making sure that flow is as perfect as it can be, and has got an awful lot of knowledge built up over the years on how to convert your customers online on your sites in the best way possible. So Barney will take you through a quick presentation on that. Then we're going to break around about 12:30 for a little bit of lunch. There's a lovely room through the side there that you guys can head into if you'd like to and relax for a short while. Then we're going to be joined by Richard Robinson, who's the Director of B2B Markets at Google. And he's going to walk us through how we can accelerate our business growth using the channels that are available to us online to do that. So first off, it's me for half an hour. Let me try and work through this entirely unscripted. I have 10 or so slides with lots and lots of notes, but I'm just going to chat to you guys and give you some knowledge that I have on the domain industry and what's happening to it right now, so that hopefully you can walk away with something of maximum use to you and your businesses. First of all, what are new gTLDs? We've all heard that term, new gTLDs. New meaning they're brand new, they're only just starting to come out. gTLD standing for generic or global, whichever one you prefer, top level domain. That's the bit to the right of the dot when we type a domain name into our browser. If we don't know how the domain name system works, our browsers interpret that bit on the right. They go to someone called a registry. The registry then says, what have you got to the bit of the left? And they say, well, I've typed in facebook.com, the registry being .com, Facebook being their destination. The registry then says, oh, that one has been registered through 123 Reg. So then they point the user to 123 Reg. We then say, oh, this is where the server is for that one. In the case of that example, there's a lot of servers, and it's not one that's registered through 123 Reg, but you get the idea. That's how DNS works, and that's what a registry and a registrar do in that part of the process. There's a body that oversees all of that, and that body is called ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. That's a community body. It's run by us, and us includes you as well. It's not just us as a registrar. It's a completely bottom-up organisation. I always describe it to people as the Houses of Parliament of the internet. The at-large community, which is the general public, can contribute. Governments contribute. Registrars contribute. Registries contribute. The result of that is sometimes slow progress. But at least the progress that is made is by consensus, by the entire community, by the world deciding what we're going to do with the internet and how it's going to progress. And one of those bits of policy that's been going on now for 8 years is to introduce new gTLDs. So back in, I think it was 1986, this point I will have to refer to some of my notes. Back in 1986, I think there was something like 20 domains on the internet, a very, very small number. And now we're looking closer to 250 million, or just past 250 million actually, between gTLDs and what we call ccTLDs, and I'll explain the difference in a second. So that process took 8 years, and we've gone from just having sort of ComNet, Biz, Asia, Info, Mobi, around about 26 or so, some you can't buy, commercial generic top-level domains, to actually this year launching more than 1,900 of them this year, next, and the year after. So it's a massive change from having 26 or so in the root to going to this 1,900 odd that will be added over the next few years. Now, on top of that, there's ccTLDs, and I'm going to explain those in a minute rather than complicate the story right now. So out of those 1,900 applicants, they each paid around about $500,000 in total to apply for their extension, be it .plumbing, be it .inc, be it .app. Whatever that extension may be, they paid an awful lot of money to apply for it. And they'll have to pay a similar amount of money to run that gTLD every single year that their registry is in operation. So it's an expensive process. When you whittle down the 1,900 applications, there were a lot of contentions. So Google, in this room, they're known as Charleston Road Registry, but actually that's Google. Google have applied for a great number of TLDs, actually. So they're one of the applicants for, say, .app, one of the applicants for .mail. Some of these TLDs are contended, so multiple applicants have applied for the same one. In that case, they're going through an auction process which hasn't started yet. So all the really good ones you hear about a lot, like .web, .app, .mail, we're going to see those towards the end of this year into next year, because they have to go through that process to decide who's going to operate it. Is it going to be Google? Is it going to be Amazon? Is it going to be eBay? Out of the people that have contended to run it. The most contentious application from memory is .inc, which I think had 14 applications for the same TLD. The stuff that you're seeing coming through right now, those are the ones that were uncontended, just one applicant, or maybe there was 1 or 2 applicants, they've come to an agreement and they've decided they'll work together, or one will be successful, one won't. When you whittle down the 1,900, so you get out the contentions between people, you then take out what we refer to as .brands, which are the likes of .Pepsi, .Hitachi, .Canon, that kind of stuff. You actually get down to about 250 truly generic, as I like to call them, applications. So the .home, the .online, the .plumbing, .football, and so on. And actually, you can then take those down further to 10 or 15 really, really generic applications like .web as a great example that will apply to everybody, not necessarily a vertical in that space. So, you know, how domains come to life? I think I've sort of explained the bit of history there. In 1986, we had a very small amount. Now we're at 250 million. To give you some scale for the pace in which that changed, there were about 8 million domains on the internet at the millennium. Just 8 million. And now there's over 250 million of them. So the need for gTLDs is very obvious. If anybody's ever tried to start a business and select, say, for example, a .com of their liking, there's not a single .com available, I think, below 5 letters. Once you get above that, it becomes more readily available. You start adding hyphens, it becomes more readily available. The choice is becoming limited for businesses to get online. So you can switch to another new gTLD, or a gTLD or a newer one that's coming out, or you can switch to your local ccTLD where there might be more availability. But even in the popular local ccTLDs, they're starting to run dry as well. So there's definitely a need for new gTLDs. What's the difference then between gTLDs, ccTLDs? So gTLDs, remember we had this 26 or so around 2002. That's just about to go to 1,900 of them all managed by this international body called ICANN. ccTLDs are the 2 letters. Now, we know them in the UK as 4 letters just because our 2-letter operator in the UK decided to put that .co at the beginning of .uk. But actually, it's the 2-letter that gets assigned to a country. And that follows, I think it's the ISO 3166 standard, which is a standard that defines for every country in the world, what's your 2 letters that you have. And ICANN actually do manage that in a weird kind of way through their technical operation called IANA. And they give to each government that 2-letter. And they say, do what you like with it. It's up to you as a local government. In the UK, we license that to a third party who runs it and accredits registrars like us. Actually, we're the largest registrar for .uk in the UK. In other countries, it works a little differently. So if I take Spain, that's run by the Spanish government. Very, very hard to become accredited registrar in Spain. Believe me, it takes years to go through the process needed to be accredited. If we take another country like Colombia, they happen to have .co. That was owned and operated by their university just as an internal network for quite some time. And it was only in 2010, I think, July 2010, that opened up. The government licensed it to just 10 registrars, of which we became one of those. And those 10 registrars were allowed to sell that worldwide. Okay? So you've got 260 of those, roughly, ccTLDs. And some of them can be seen as quite global and generic as well. .me, very, very popular, one of the most popular ccTLDs, fastest growing in the past couple of years. That's Montenegro's ccTLD, but is sold like a global TLD. But to be accredited to sell it, we go and talk to a company in Montenegro, and we're accredited by the Montenegrin government, but it's marketed as a global TLD. You have other good ones around the world as well, just to give you one last example, like .id for Indonesia. Fantastic one. Right now, you can't buy that. You can only buy it as .co.id, and if you walk into various government offices in Indonesia and can prove you're a business operating in that country, I'm sure sooner or later you might see the Indonesian government take that opportunity, lose the .co off the beginning of it and say anybody worldwide can register this, and we might feel that's a gTLD, but actually that's a ccTLD. So that's the difference. The different stages of adoption then can be really interesting. So let me try and walk you through how that works. So there's a couple of things. So first of all, if I take gTLDs, the first thing I have to do is I have to pay my $500,000 to ICANN. That's now a closed process. It was a one-time round. It's happened. It's been and gone. You can't do it anymore. We're now stuck at these 1900 bar until the community open that up again. Once I've paid that, I go through a heap of paperwork, frankly. That takes a year or so to get approved. Once it's been approved by ICANN, I then can apply to become a delegated string. And what that delegation means is that ICANN will put me in the route, which means I'm accessible from my web browser and from my mobile phone. Right now, out of those 1900, 144 have applied to be in the route. They've only just started to go into the route as of about a month or two ago. So they are now available and live on the internet. And actually just this week, 10 of them went live this week into the route by being delegated. Once they're delegated, that just simply means they can do business. That doesn't mean to say they're ready to do business. If I take .tel as a great example, that went into the route in 2002. It launched in 2008. Same with .XXX, same with .asia. A lot of those were in the route around 2000, 2004. They became delegated. That doesn't mean to say their business model and their business plan says they're going to launch right now. So out of those 144, out of the 1900 that are in the route right now, that doesn't mean to say they're going to come to market. The ones that have come to market so far and are actually live, there's 14 of those that are truly live, general availability, and actually 123reg is already selling all of them. And the most popular, which I'm happy to share with you, is .guru at this stage, and by a long way as well, I should add. So you get delegated, you get your permission, then it's down to you when you're going to start business. And like I say, 1,900 applications, 144 asked to be delegated, and 11 that are live right now. When they decide to go live, they choose the process they'd like to follow. The registry sets the pricing policies, they set the policies on how they're going to work, and then they set the process in which they're going to go live. They could technically just turn it on one day and say first come, first served. Everybody, big land rush, come and get what you want, and we're going to charge $5. They could choose to do that. What generally happens is they follow a process that's 3 stages: sunrise, land rush, and general availability. So let me just explain each of those stages, all of which we support in 123, I just should add. So the sunrise process is for rights holders. So at that stage, rights holders, trademark holders is a good example, get the opportunity to apply for the domain ahead of the pack. You know, if I have a trademark, I'll be pretty cheesed off if somebody else got an opportunity to take my trademark before I could. You know, we've got statute law in the UK that protects that kind of stuff, but I don't want to have to go through a lawsuit to recover it, so therefore I can jump in at the sunrise stage. The sunrise stage can take various forms. You know, sometimes it's auctioned as well. If I take the example of .polo, you've got Volkswagen Polo that own a trademark, you've got Roundtree Polo that own a trademark, and you've got Ralph Lauren Polo. So actually all three of those are rights holders, so who gets it? Well, in that scenario, all three of them apply, they go into an auction, the highest bidder wins. And you know, I would suggest that polo.clothing is something more attractive to Ralph Lauren than it is to Volkswagen. So you'll see there's some natural logical points in which people will make their decisions. So I go through sunrise if I want to. It's a premium price for obviously the premium stage. Then I go into land rush. Land rush is generally the general public stage. It's a stage when anybody, you don't have to be a rights holder, can come and buy that domain, but you have to buy that domain, or you will buy that domain, no doubt, in most cases. Again, this is defined by each registry, so each one does it a little bit differently. Normally at a premium price. So a good example of that in the 11 that have gone live so far, we had a customer that bought lifting.equipment. Very logical TLD, great, very relevant to their business. He paid a decent sized premium for that. He bought it at Land Rush. And he did that so that when it got to the general availability, first come, first served stage, he knew that nobody else was going to get it because he'd paid his premium and he'd got it. And I'm sure he has a master plan about how he's going to reinvent his business around that very specific TLD, because no doubt he's into lifting equipment, which I'm sure is a very big industry in its own right. So that's Land Rush. Then we get to what we call internally as GA, general availability. That's the point when most people play. 95% of our business takes place during GA. That's the first come, first served, you know, get in really quick and you can get your domain. We accept pre-orders for all of those stages I just talked about, but the last stage in particular we accept pre-orders for is GA. That's the stage which I'm sure many of you want to play, and I would encourage you, if you do want to play, to keep an eye on our pre-order site, which is gTLD.123-reg.co.uk, and place your pre-orders there, because it will guarantee you that at 2 minutes past the hour or 1 second past the hour, whatever it is when that TLD launches, we will flood the registry with your applications and make sure we win that application for you as our customer. We only take one pre-order for each string per customer. So it's kind of first come, first served in the pre-order stage as well. And then obviously we go live, and the 11 or so that are on 123 Reg are the ones that you can go out and buy right now. So quite a complicated process. The delegation, the application, all that bit, I wouldn't worry about too much. What I would care about is Sunrise, Land Rush, and GA. In particular, making sure you pre-order for GA if there's a particular TLD that's of interest. Just referring to that gTLD site very, very quickly, there's two sections on it if you do go onto it. You've got pre-order and pre-interest. Do feel free to complete both sections. Pre-order is a TLD we know is coming to market. We know when it's coming to market. We know how much it's going to cost you. We can absolutely take a pre-order for you. Pre-interest is a TLD that we don't know when it's coming to market yet. We know they've paid ICANN. We know they're going to go live, but they're not sharing their business model yet with us. They're not telling us the price points, and therefore we don't want to take your order for that, because we know that you might not want to buy .web at $250, but you might want to buy it at $5. So we ask you to just show pre-interest in those, and we'll let you know when we know more information. We'll move them to the pre-order stage, two very different stages. So that's basically how we bring domains to life. And I think I've probably almost gone through this process on this slide already. You know, the auctions are these auctions that happen kind of at two stages. They happen at the stage of delegation, so at the ICANN stage if there's multiple applicants for, say, .web. They then happen at the trademark stage if I'm a trademark owner. And then they can happen at the Land Rush stage as well. Land Rush can sometimes be a contended process as well, where you pay that premium price, but actually you're choosing to pay that premium price to be in an auction with somebody else to try and win lifting.equipment. Each registry differs how they want to tackle that. And of course, we've got those contended and uncontended applications that I discussed earlier. And I can't emphasize that contention point enough, because when we hear about new gTLDs, we hear a lot about .web, .shop, .inc, .home, .mail, .app, that stuff is a fair way off. We're probably 2014, end of 2014, 2015 before we'll see those come to life, because they have to go through that auction process first. The stuff that we're starting to see come through now, these are the uncontended applications that we can get here and now. So be careful when you're placing your pre-orders, whether that's with us or somebody else, be careful what you're placing your order for. gTLD.123-reg is real, it's genuine. If you can place an order for it, then we know everything about it. If you can only show pre-interest, we don't know it quite yet. The best example of that, to wrap up on there, is .london, actually, because there's a lot of talk about .london. I know there's going to be a lot more talk about it over the next few weeks as well, in particular from the registry that are managing that. We don't yet know the launch date. We don't yet know the exact pricing. So if you're placing a pre-order for .london, you're placing a pre-order for something that can't be guaranteed, that isn't known quite yet. So pre-interest that one, and the minute we know information on it, we'll reach out to you and say, here's the information you need. Now you can come pre-order that domain if you wish to. So why should I even show any interest in these new gTLDs? 75%-ish of the world's net is .com, 75% of our sell-through that we do today. So should I not go and buy an aftermarket .com? We sell premium domains on 123reg, which are second-hand .coms as a great example. Should I not just put all my money into that? .com rules the world, it's going to live forever. Well, I would certainly argue not. Think about the future, because the future of the internet is opening up. We buy .com right now, we buy .co.uk right now, because that's what we know, that's what we have access to, and that's what we see above billboards right now. There's 10 million plus .uk's, there's over 100 million, I think I've got those stats right, .coms out there. That's what we see as we walk down the high street. That will change. We will start to see lifting.equipment. We will start to see my.web. We will start to see other domains out there, and the general public as a whole will start to understand there are different domains that they can buy. The best example I always like to give of that, because I think it is very, very real, is actually .co, the Colombian registry. Over 1 million registrations in a very short space of time, and actually I see that domain, particularly in the UK, regularly. Have a look out as you're driving around on the motorways and as you're walking around the shops. I see .co regularly nowadays on the back of builders' vans or whatever it might be, because it's got such good availability. I can find exactly what I need in there. It's 2 letters on the end of it. It represents company. It makes a lot of sense to me. So there is this growing awareness that we don't just have to be .com or .uk to succeed online. We don't yet know what the search sites are going to do. Are they going to treat lifting.equipment different to lifting.com? Is it going to be more relevant if I'm doing an equipment search for lifting equipment? We don't know what the search sites and the search portals like Google are going to do with that quite yet. But I think logic would say that's going to have some kind of impact to the search result. That would be logical to me, but it certainly isn't something that we know or can confirm quite yet. So at the very least, protect yourself. If there's something very obvious, very relevant, if I'm a clothing supplier, definitely buy your relevant.clothing. If I'm a plumber, definitely buy your relevant.plumbing, at least for one period to decide and see how that takes off and how it changes. Finally then, it's not just new gTLDs that are evolving. Domain names as a whole are certainly starting to evolve, not just at the gTLD level, but at the ccTLD level. And one example that's just gone live on 123reg this week actually is .uk. So rather than having 123-reg.co.uk, from the 10th of June onwards, I can be 123-reg.uk without the co. So much shorter, much more relevant. So with the evolution of new gTLDs, the ccTLDs operators are starting to think, well, how should we be different? How can we compete in this space? The internet is changing. What do we need to do? And clearly the UK internet space has realised that actually shorter is better. So they're now starting to market that new gTLD, and we're guaranteeing pre-orders. If you can pre-order it on on 123-reg.co.uk, then we will guarantee you will get that domain for various reasons. So if it appears, it's guaranteed. If it doesn't appear, we can't guarantee it. So if it appears, you can guarantee that pre-order with us on 123-reg.co.uk. So what about buying new gTLDs then? I think I've mentioned it already. General availability is now open. It's there. You can do it today. As domains come online, you can buy them live on 123-reg.co.uk. So There's 11 of them online right now. There were 5 or 6 that went live last Wednesday. There were 5 or 6 that went live just yesterday, actually. But the process before that is place your pre-order if it's of particular interest. So gTLD.123-reg, or follow the links from the main site to get to the pre-order site. Because pre-ordering is your best guarantee of getting it. But once we go past pre-order, it starts to appear in the main search results, and you can buy it live in the main search results then. Be very aware of the growing importance of location-specific domains. I mentioned .london earlier on, but there are others, .berlin, .cologne, .nyc. If you're a New York business, that one's going to be particularly good at 3 letters and very relevant to New York, who's a very digital city. .london is clearly going to be a massive success. You know, I can tell you, and I'm quite happy to share with you, the single biggest interest that we have, pre-interest, on our gTLD portals across the entire group, not just the 123reg brand, is .london. No two ways about it, but by a mile. So that is going to be one that the minute you see that in pre-order status, I would come and place the pre-order for it, because that will be successful. It's not just that the TLD itself is very relevant, but actually the body behind it. It's a government organisation, which I forget the name of right now, that are, look at it, Karen, see if you can remember. It's a government body that basically are behind .london. It's the same government body that were behind the Olympics marketing. You know, I am sure we will see tourist.london. I'm sure we will see Harrods.london, all things that are very relevant to .london. London and Partners. Thanks, Nick. So keep an eye on that one. Lots more PR to come around that, and that's definitely one to look out for. So to summarise then, the new gTLD applications are mixed. You know, they're not just the .webs, the .onlines. They're industry terms, they're .locations, they're brands. You know, a couple of the ones that I think actually are going to be quite successful. I think we've even got one of them there on the right, actually, in .ninja down the bottom. Everybody I talk to is raving about .ninja. You know, I don't get it. I can honestly tell you I don't get it. But I do know that that is going to be a very successful domain, because everybody is talking about it. Maybe it's a geeky thing in the tech community, I'm not sure, but it's one that you wouldn't expect to be successful, but clearly is going to be. A lot of people loving .xyz, very irrelevant, you know, maybe a personal email address, you know, not so susceptible to spam maybe. We're expecting that one to be very consumery priced in price point. You know, so there's a real mix of them. .guru, who'd have thought that's going to represent half of our registrations from the live 11 so far, but it is. So it's not necessarily the ones that you expect to succeed, are the ones that are actually really flying through the rooftops. So keep an eye on the whole industry and make your own mind up. Make sure you protect yourself in year 1 at a minimum, particularly if you've got a business that's in a vertical sector. You know, whether you sell pizzas, whether you are a taxi cab, whether you are based in London, you're looking to expand into New York, protect yourself at least for the first year so that you can be sure how the web evolves. You've got your opportunity to be a part of that involvement. On 123reg in particular, we're no win, no fee. So when you place your pre-order with us on 123reg, we do not charge your credit card. We take your credit card details. What then happens is, I think it's about 5 or 6 days before the launch for that TLD, we pre-authorize your credit card, much like checking into a hotel. And we email you and confirm we've been successful, or we tell you, actually, that didn't work. Please put another card on because you pre-ordered 6 months before and now that card's expired or something. So we only take the money, or we only authorize the money, like checking into a hotel, a few days before the launch. We then only debit that money from your card account if we're successful in winning the name. So if you want to apply for London, you can, and you won't pay unless you're successful in us doing that for you. To give you some history to that, the group of businesses that sit underneath the Host Europe Group brand have more than a 96% success rate in every launch in the past 5 years, and we have actually been #1 worldwide against many other global players who I'm sure many in this room can cite the names of, on every single launch in the past 5 years. So .me, .asia, .tel, .xxx, every single launch. So if there's one place to place your pre-order, sound like a sales pitch, Matt, then it's definitely with 123reg. Okay, well, thank you very much. Hopefully that was of some interest. I'm going to hand the floor over now to Nick Leach. To Stefan, should I say.